welcome back to Guitalele tutorials. Today we are going to look into another strumming technique known as plucking the bass. So as you have seen, there are top 3 strings, so those are thicker and in times they have some metal coating around it. Okay, so that's how the bass sound is produced in Guitalele, or in general guitar also they do the same thing. Okay, so they have three thin strings, so where you can get the thin tones, and 3 thick strings, so where you can get the bass sound. Okay, so for Guitalele it's the nylon strings, so there is a metal around the nylon core. So if you look into this Guitalele, or maybe if you can check in your own Guitalele, you can see that. So these 3 strings, the top 3 strings of the Guitalele, so they are having some metal winding around the nylon core. Okay, so these 3 are the bass strings, and usually we get the bass note in either of the strings. So for example, so let's say I'm playing the C major chord. Okay, so however you play it, either this way or the just inversion C, or the C that you are used to play. So anyway, you will get the top, you will always touch the top string into the C major chord. So your C major chord will have this top string either way of the playing. Okay, so that's bass string for the C major chord. Same happens for the A minor chord. Okay, so A minor chord, we play this one, the top string, the A string, the bass A string, or the low A string. So that's bass for the A string. Okay, so sorry, A minor chord. And let's say I'm playing the F major chord. So F major chord, as you know, that it starts from the top second string, or the 5th string from the below, from the bottom. So the string number 5 or 5th string. So that's the F major chord, and for that we have this string as the bass string. Okay, so that's the bass string for the F major chord. Okay, so we usually leave the top string, right? And for the G major chord, we see that the bass string is this one. So we start playing from the 4th string, we leave the 5th and 6th string, right? So yeah, so when we will talk about more about music theory and things like how these chords get formed and things like that, so you'll get to know that you can even play the same chord in different way. So technically this, whatever the F major chord I am holding, right? So as we already know that the top string doesn't get played for F major chord, or till now what we have seen is that we don't play the top string for the F major chord. So what we do in that case is that we start from the 5th string and strum, right? But when you will get to know about the music theory and all, you will also get to know that this can be also played. So this is also F major chord starting from the top string, and this is also F major chord starting from the 2nd top string or the 5th string. So both way you can actually play the F major chord. Okay, but there is a difference, it's definitely not the same. So here you are actually using a different bass. Here you are using actually the A as bass, but for the 5th string version you are actually using the so for whenever we are strumming in this position, we are actually using the A as the bass string, but whenever you are starting to play from this string, we are actually using the F major chord, F as the bass note of that particular chord. Okay, so there is some difference. So what are these notes? And we already have gone through some of these theories, but we didn't know what the difference is between that or this. Okay, so this basically changes the bass line of the song. Okay, anyways, but yeah, there you can actually use that. Same goes for the G major chord also. So we can start from the 4th string, or we can even start from the 5th string as well. So that's also a valid one to play. So if I start from the 5th string, that's also G major chord. If I start from the 4th string, that's also G major chord, but we are choosing a different bass when we are starting from the 5th fifth string, right? So there are some differences. It changes the bass line, and the bass line change actually actually changes the feel of the playing. Whatever you are playing, it actually interrupts some of the feeling there. Okay, so usually we start the chords with the root note, and the most bassy note in that chord goes to that particular root note. So if it is A major, so A or A minor, whatever you call, if A major is also the similar way, just change one thing. Anyways, so A major and A minor, we are going with the bass A note, right? Whenever we are playing C, so see that we are actually playing C. Okay, so you just can count this one from the thing. If you don't know about music theory, you just can skip this part. I'll make separate videos for those music theories and those concept. But yeah, whenever you are trying to play C major, so you are actually making this bass A note, bass A string, or the top string as the C note, and then you are playing. Okay, same thing happens with the G major chord. So when we start playing from the fourth string, that fourth string is now playing G. Okay, so you know this is G major, the G string, right? So A, D, G, C, E, A. So this is the G string. So we are using the open G string for G major chord, and we are playing the G major chord. Okay, so that's how the usual chord formations we played till now, or we knew till now, is going to be. But when you are playing with a different bass note, so like for the case of F major, so let's say I start from the sixth string and we don't mute the sixth string, so that's actually choosing a different bass than F. Now whenever I'm playing the F major chord from the fifth string, it's starting from the F note. So whatever the chord name is, actually that's the root note that we play for. It doesn't matter if it is minor or major, so the chord names are somewhere like that, so that the bass note is assigned to that particular chord formation, to the normal chord formation. Okay, much of the talks here, so let's move and see this other technique, the strumming, the plucking the bass. Okay, so the chords that we have learned till now has either of the top three strings as bass, and in general this is the case. So you have either of these three strings as the bass note for your chord, whatever chord you play. In general, any chord you play, you get either of these three strings as your bass. Okay, so if you are going for fingerstyle letter or something like that, so you are going to play these bass strings with just thumb. So there is a different configuration, different fingers assigned to different strings. I'm not going into all those complexities. So there are a few things that you can actually take from borrow from that learnings, or maybe you can start it. So whenever you're going to play with fingerstyle, maybe that will be helpful. The very first thing is that, so your thumb is assigned to play either of the bass strings for that chord. Okay, so let's say I'm using the C major chord, so I'll play this C note first. Okay, so that's the plucking the bass. Okay, so I'll just use the thumb to play pluck that string, so that's plucking the bass. Okay, now let's say I'm playing the A minor chord. So here also same, I'm plucking the top string. Okay, so let's say for the F major chord and the normal version of F major chord, I'm plucking the fifth string, right? Or for G major chord, so I'm plucking the fourth string. So the idea is that your thumb moves to that particular string, your thumb moves to that particular bass string that it needs to play for that chord. It's usually it's usually a matter of practice. It's not that in day one you learn this and day two you start performing all this stuff. No, it's not like that. It needs practice. It definitely needs a hell lot of practice to play things correctly. Even I don't consider myself that I'm playing that much okay with that. It took me around somewhat between, so what, when I'm making this lesson and when I started actually playing with this plucking the bass technique, there is a difference between minimum of 1 month. So but still I don't consider I am playing it perfectly, or still I don't consider that there is no room for improvement. So there definitely will be room for improvements, so it will take some time. Anyways, So keep practicing, things will get easy. It became easy for me. So earlier I was fumbling how to do all the stuffs and all. Anyways, so idea is that we are plucking either of the bass strings for the corresponding chord. So for, let's say, G major chord, we are plucking just this bass string, right? So the G major, for G major chord, we are plucking the G note in the bass string. For A minor, we are plucking the topmost string as the bass string, and for F major chord, we are plucking the fifth string for the bass string. Okay. So in general, so you cannot go this chord by chord. So in general, remember this one. So from where you start the strumming, from the top, okay, so that's your bass note for that particular chord. So for C major chord, if you go by this formula, so in your C major chord, you start strumming from the top string. So for C major chord, top string is your bass note. Top string has your bass note. For A minor chord, you start from the top, so top string is your bass note. F major chord, you start from fifth string, so fifth string is your bass note. G major chord, you start from the fourth string, so G major chord, it has the fourth string as the fourth string has the bass note. Okay. So you just pluck for that particular chord. For G major, you pluck this. A minor, you pluck that, and same goes for, let's say, D minor chord. So if I am playing the D minor chord, so it also starts from, so you see that we are leaving the we leave the first string, we leave this string here. Okay, so and we play like this, right? So that becomes my D minor. Okay, so you can play with this G, D string itself, right? So that's your bass note for D string. So let's talk about another chord, that's E minor. So this is the E minor chord, right? So that we played. So and here also we started from the fourth string. Remember, we took it from ukulele. So it's the, now here the top string is the bass string. Okay, so that's how you remember things. So that was the plucking the bass. So you just pluck this with that pluck the bass note for that particular chord. Now how we are going to use it? So there is a lot of talking and a lot of thing to identify which is the bass note for that particular chord or something like that. But now how we are going to actually use it? So one thing is that and how to do it. So when you pluck, so two things, I find it easier. So some players can definitely go with a free hand, but I used to get a good feel with a locking into the body of the instrument. So what is lock? Lock means I am just putting an anchor like this, my little finger. I am putting it as the anchor into the body, and then I am just plucking this. And for the rest of the strumming, I am using the first technique that we started. So thumb down, index up, thumb down, index up, thumb down, index up. Okay. So when you pluck, you just pluck like this. Your thumb goes on the string, and then you pull it towards your palm. Any of the string actually. Okay. I'm doing it for the three strings. So okay, so you pluck that way. Okay, you pluck. Okay, and then you start the strumming with the other the way we started. So pluck, strum, pluck, strum, pluck, strum, pluck, strum. This motion actually, this is quite confusing. So because we were earlier doing like this, or even we are using this motion, right? The motion was there, right? But this type of change, so see, what I'm doing here is I'm changing the motion. Okay, so I am using the thumb. So thumb actually now plays double duty. So it plucks and it strums, right? I haven't tried with index finger strumming, but it felt easier for me to actually pluck and strum using the same finger. Okay, so this gives a different feel. That's why we are going to practice this one. It will take time, definitely it's going to take time. So that's how it is. So the pluck and the strum thing goes with the same finger. So this was, remember, the island strum. Okay, so now I'm going to deploy my pluck technique here. Pluck down, up down, up, pluck down, up down, up, pluck down, up, pluck, up, down. Okay, so something like that. So you replace some of the down strums with the pluck, or maybe just one, or maybe a simple one would be down, up, pluck, 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 up. Okay, and you simultaneously try to change your chord finger as well. Okay, so for your fretting hand, right? So try to do that. I mean, it's challenging. Okay, right now I'm feeling a bit of challenge when I'm trying to make this change and also trying to talk. Pluck up, 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 pluck up. Okay, so try to do this. It's definitely not easy to handle all these things. It's a bit difficult, but it gives a whole lot of new emotions that you can portray with this strumming pattern. That's all about plucking. So you can use this technique in your strumming patterns, and you can make your different strumming patterns using this plucking and all. So that was all about plucking the bass and incorporating it into strumming patterns.